I've been freaking out over the last like few weeks, like at nighttime. Like at nighttime, I'll be alone and I just start thinking about the future of the world, and I start like legit freaking out. Like what would happen if we were like legit Armageddon, Mad Max, nuclear war? Like how far are we away from that? And it could just give me anxiety before I go to sleep. I'd just be laying there going, fuck, like how does this all resolve? And then this fucking Israel thing pops off, and now I'm like legit freaked out. A million innocent people die because of the Iraq war. It scares the shit out of me. When I see something like that happen, there's no clear way this resolves peacefully. Like, this is bad. And Israel's going to go into Palestine. They're already bombing, and there's all. And is there a retaliation for that? And what happens then? And what other countries get involved? Their world is killing people. Their world is controlling resources, and they don't play fair. Like they release stories that aren't true. They use disinformation to switch narratives. They have social media posts that aren't real so they can get people riled up about certain things. Censored all the mainstream media in such a way that they completely control the narrative. They're also coordinating military attacks. That's their world. We just don't think about that world because we're not in that world. But people have been in that world since the beginning of time. What they've done with us is they've sheltered us in such a way, and then of how you think about what can and cannot happen in the world and why these things are happening. And we're seeing that right now. We're seeing that like in your face where you're like, what? And you're also seeing people with massive amounts of conspiracies now, right? And whenever something like that happens, there's always the people that are like, how did they not know this was going to happen? Like, isn't this the most sophisticated surveillance systems in the world? They have that iron dome that protects them against missiles. So as Hamas is launching these missiles, they're shooting missiles at the missiles and blowing them up in the sky. Okay. How much do each one of these missiles that they're shooting at these other missiles cost?
Right.
Each missile is $40,000 to $50,000, according to a researcher at Israel's Institute for National Security Studies. Yeah. So the question is, where are these weapons coming from? And then there was also questions of whether or not weapons that we left in Afghanistan were being used.
Hamas has been planning this attack for 2 years, and one of the leaders of Hamas actually said that they've been strategically lulling Israel to sleep by making it seem like they're no longer interested in a conflict the past 2 years. And Israel, even just a week before the attack, allowed more Gazans to come over the border and work in Israel as basically a reward for good behavior, right? They thought Hamas has gone into this mode where they're more concerned about the economics of the Gaza Strip than about attacking Israel. So Israel was asleep at the wheel. Israel also had transferred a lot of IDF that would normally be at the Gaza border to the West Bank. Israel is not like the United States. They don't have a constitution. They don't have this kind of really beautiful genius system of checks and balances that we have where, the president can veto Congress and the Supreme Court has a check on everyone, right? And everyone keeps each other in check. Israel just has a single parliament they call the Knesset, a prime minister that has a lot of control over that parliament because he leads the majority coalition. So basically, in Israel, the president and their Congress have a lot more power than in America, historically. The Supreme Court doesn't have the power to say no to them. But over the past 30 years, the Supreme Court has been basically grabbing more power for itself under these things called basic laws, where they can now say to the Knesset, no, you cannot implement that policy in the West Bank. It violates human rights. They have more powers to check the majority party. And that's come to a head now because the Supreme Court is perceived as left-wing and sympathetic to the Palestinians. And the Benjamin Netanyahu is obviously Likud. He's the right-wing party, and he's gone into coalition with these ultra kind of right-wing religious. So the left feels the Supreme Court is a great defender of Israeli human rights, and the right feels that the Supreme Court is an undemocratic institution that's been expanding its own power for 30 years and now needs to be reined in so that the majority can govern. You also throw in the fact that Israel and Saudi Arabia are on the verge of a peace deal, which is huge. It would be the biggest news in the Middle East in a very long time if Israel and Saudi Arabia made peace. From the point of view of Hamas and Iran, they think this is a last chance, kind of. We have to attack now, kill this deal, or we're dead forever. And they planned this thing meticulously for 2 years, intentionally lulling the Israelis to sleep.
Like when you look at what's happened now, oh my God, the rhetoric from both sides, it's just, didn't we learn anything from World War II? Didn't we learn anything from the Holocaust? There's almost no way to stop all wars. Right now, if you had a magic solution to stop all wars in the world, what would it be? It doesn't exist. That's terrifying, because the thing that we are scared of the most is global thermonuclear war, the thing that everybody should be the most terrified of, that we get so stupid that we wipe every human being off the face of the planet, and we're more than capable of doing it.
If Israel wanted to annihilate Hamas and the Palestinians the same way Hamas wants to annihilate Israel, Hamas would be gone and there would be no Palestinians in Gaza. We know that Israel could obliterate them overnight. Why don't they? Well, for mixed reasons, but because they don't want to. They want to live in peace fundamentally. And so I don't think the two sides are equivalent here, though they're both capable of that universal among humans, which is cruelty. I don't think these two sides are the same. I really think this is a situation where there is a good guy and a bad guy.
After that attack, it's so horrifying. But then the response is horrifying too, where who knows how many civilians have died in Gaza.
Yeah.
What was the thing with the hospital?
Why would Israel bomb a hospital? Israel is known to have at least a policy of not bombing hospitals because Israel feels that it wants to generally respect what a war crime is, right? That's the policy, at least. So this went viral. Then it turned out, actually, most likely, it actually turned out 100% the hospital wasn't bombed. It was the parking lot next to the hospital. Then it turned out it's very, very unlikely to be an Israeli airstrike and was almost certainly not a Hamas rocket, but a Palestinian Islamic Jihad. This is the other Palestinian terror group in Gaza. They launched a bunch of rockets. One of them was a dud and landed in the hospital parking lot. This is still an evolving story, and we're talking on Thursday. So by the time
it didn't
this
actually
episode,
hit the hospital itself. It hit the parking lot next to the hospital and did damage to the hospital?
the latest is that the hospital's still standing, and it was only the parking lot next to the hospital, and a bunch of cars may have exploded as well.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this is now, I think there's an emerging consensus that it was a parking lot, probably not 500 people, probably more like 50 or 100, which is, again, tragic. Every life is tragic.